Hey, it's Faye and this is Day with Faye. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I did some of my DIY wedding signs. So this video is part of a 3-part series on each different type of wedding sign and various difficulty. I also break down exactly what fonts I use on Photoshop and some Photoshop tips. Timestamps are going to be in the description below for when certain signs begin, when their Photoshop tutorial part begins, all that jazz. So this video is specifically just for the acrylic pane calligraphy type of sign. So if you were looking at my intro and you're like, wait, how do I do that sign? I got you guys. Whenever I make that video, it will be linked down below, step by step how to do it. I decided to start with something that's easy to medium and what I actually did most of my signs. I got all of these frames at thrift stores, which I highly suggest doing. Just wander in. Every so often some thrift stores will have sales. Like my biggest frame originally was like $25 at the thrift store because it was very high quality, but it was 75% marked down on the day that I went, so it was really awesome. Let me show you the final products. So one of the things that I did is I kind of just looked at signs for inspiration and then I added things. I like using simple images like in PSD format so that I could just trace them out. And I made all the directions applicable to what is true at our wedding. I was obsessed with this frame and I actually milk painted this frame. I milk painted almost all of the frames that we got just to kind of have like a little bit of a cohesiveness and a theme. I love milk painting. It's non-toxic. It doesn't smell at all when you use it. It's pretty easy to use. It dries very quickly. Ideally, if you don't want to have like a backdrop, it would be just clear glass, but you want to make sure in those situations that the frame that you have is sturdy enough to uphold it. Now, in all of my signs that I'm showing you, there is no clear. I actually thought since we have like a rustic-y theme, I'd use some wood stain. Now that smells. Definitely do that outside and let it air dry outside because it stinks. So I used some wood stain on the backing. And again, I did all of them that exact same color just again to have a cohesiveness. Okay, so that's how I did this one. And now on to the Photoshop lesson of how I did it.
Okay guys, so first of all, we're gonna look at the Photoshop specs of each sign. First up is the photo booth. So I'm currently using the Adobe Photoshop CC 2015 program. Now, before I go further, I want to say that the drawings that I pick out, so you go on Google and you type in Instax mini drawing, and I always like to type file type PNG because PNG is one of the best formats to use for these types of projects because they are basically transparent in the background. So when you do that, look, I click this and instantly, did you see how it was white at first? Like here on the preview, it's white, but when you click it, it becomes checkerboard. That's what you want to look for because then when you save this image, like if I were to put this on front of stuff, it still would be able to be like transparent in between. Basically what you want to do is the first thing you want to do is you want to do image size. So you'll go on to like image and then image size. And once you do that, basically take out your measuring tape of the exact pane and get the width and the height. So this is what that was for me specifically. And then you're just kind of free to go. So for this one, I got that Instax mini the way that I showed you. Similarly with the mustache, I just typed in mustache, simple drawing, file type, :PNG. So this is size 175. And it is the Heart of Everything demo. I got all of these fonts that I use are for free, and if I couldn't find it for free on one website, I just searched on Google until I found it for free. And then also with the numbers, it is the Heart of Everything again, but it's size 45. I kind of like only using like very few font differences. Like I think this is just 2 different fonts on this whole thing. Grab a prop that is the light font in size 30, and I use that for these 3 steps. Okay, so basically I like to save the format in Photoshop PDF. So this one was sent in Photoshop PDF, and then I open it with Adobe Acrobat Reader. This is just a free program that I have. It's not anything fancy. So when I do file print for this one, you don't really need cut marks for this one because it is smaller than the size of a piece of paper. So I'm going to uncheck that. And as you see, it just works perfectly. I don't want it to shrink the oversized pages. I want it to be the actual size. Click printer, and then you want to go into layout, and you're going to flip horizontally. So that's when you click that, basically it's reversed so that you can trace it so that it's on the inside of the picture frame. So if you uncheck the flip horizontally, what you're doing is that you're asking for the Sharpie pen marker to be right on top of the outside of the window pane, which is completely fine. I was just nervous that people were going to try to mess with it, or someone would try to clean off a surface and that it would accidentally ruin my DIY wedding sign. So just to be safe, I did flip horizontally so that it's in the inside of the window pane, but this is just something that you don't have to do. And then you're done. But I'm going to talk about what to do if your sign is bigger than a piece of paper.
So something that applies to all of these signs that you print them out, and I personally like it best when they're flipped like reversed image, so that way when you do the tracing, it's the actual tracing and Sharpie pen marker is on this side of the frame. So that way no one can like make smudges or anything like that. That's exactly why I did that. It's much more clean and consistent in my opinion. Now for my next sign was what we used for a cocktail half hour. We had a brunch wedding, so we thought it'd be cool to have like a donut half hour where people would have donuts and just mimosas and have an open bar. So this sign says, all you need is love and donuts. So sometimes you find something that's almost perfect at a thrift shop, but let's say it just didn't come with an acrylic pane. So this is kind of a pain in the butt, pun intended, but it is totally doable. What I did is I found this Etsy store, which again is gonna be linked down below, where I give them the exact specifications of an acrylic pane that I need, and it gets shipped to me. It was like wrapped in like this blue cellophane kind of material. All I did was just rip that off and it was perfect. It's beautiful. But it was difficult to put in because it was just so exact. So once I got it in there, I was like, yo, this is not coming out. So once I printed out the Photoshop paper, it wasn't reverse image like all these other ones. I put it right behind it. I taped it right onto the acrylic paint as I traced. Now for this one, the backing is burlap. Originally it had this kind of loud backing to it, and I just felt like it was clashing too much and you couldn't really understand what the words were saying. So I just got burlap over it, and I think it looks very cute and very rustic. And so this is a shadow box basically, and it's very sturdy. It has very thick width to it, so it's definitely gonna stand on its own. So I hope that that's informational for you guys, and now I'll show you the Photoshop specifics to this.
I go to image size, and it's 13 by 8 inches, this whole entire thing. So it is larger than a piece of paper, which I've already covered on how to do that when you print it out. So all you need is bromello, and it's the size 150. I like simplicity, so I usually just typically keep it to 2 fonts per sign. Sometimes I think 3 at once. For and donuts, it's bromello, size 90. And then love is Dustismo Roman, and it is 150. So again, as I talked about on the last sign, I like to have a simple drawing typically, and how I found this one is on Safari. I just typed in donut drawing simple, and then make sure to type file type :PNG. And then when you do that, when you press enter, it's going to go away. So it deleted when I did this, and it'll just show up here. It'll say like PNG files. And then here's the one that I liked the best. And as you see, it's white. When you click it, it's checkered. So you save it and then you put it exactly where you want it to be. And that's how I did specifically this sign.
Next up, I have our bar sign. So we have an open bar with a lot of options, and I know some people do little tiny signs, but I thought it'd be really cute to have, again, an acrylic sign because I'm absolutely obsessed with them. It kind of gives you that personal touch. We did milk paint this one, whereas the donut one we didn't. It looked like that to begin with, and we were like, this is perfect with our rustic theme. So I milk painted this, and I was looking for just easy flowers to trace that I could put on my Photoshop file. And I was really, really happy with how this turned out. It's kind of like us have a nice little menu for you to look at and know exactly what you can order, because it is a brunch open bar and that's not really like standard. So kind of wanted to spell out what you could get. And the Photoshop specifics are gonna be next.
So this has 3 total fonts. Again, what I use is, this one is Stylish Calligraphy Demo, and it's the size 120, and I did that for the, and Is Open, and I think Is Open is a little bit smaller. Yeah, it's 100 instead of 120. And for bar, I used A Day Without Sun. This is one of my favorite fonts. I love it. And this is the size 300. And as my third font for each drink, I used the light font, which is also one of my favorite fonts. And this is size like 50. As for the flowers, what I did is I typed simple tulip drawing, PNG. And again, you can type PNG, but sometimes things are a lie. Like if they already have the checkerboard in the preview, it's like a fake PNG. So to be safe, you can type file type : PNG. But when I click this one, it is a real PNG, and this is the one that I used. So yeah, and the size of this one is 13.5 by 10.5.
Our next sign is kind of doubles as a welcome to our wedding sign, but also as a please don't have your phones out during the ceremony because we don't want them in pictures. And I also want you to be present. So again, I milk painted the frame, let it dry, and then I put wood stain on the backing of this one as I did with the bar one. And I really liked how that turned out. It says, welcome to our unplugged wedding. We invite you to be fully present during our ceremony. Please turn off phones and cameras. Thank you. Now this is super important to us. I am planning on, because I'm actually filming this a week before my wedding, I'm planning on texting everybody about our no phones during ceremony rule, and I'm gonna have the officiant say it as well as this sign. So hopefully that does the trick, but we'll see. And now off to the Photoshop specs of fonts and stuff like that on the next slide.
So now we are on our last sign, and believe it or not, there are only 3 fonts on this whole sign. So welcome to our, and we invite you to be fully present during our ceremony, as well as phones and cameras, same font. So welcome is 100, to our is 70, we invite you is 35, and phones and cameras is 40. And then unplugged and turn off and thank you are also the same font, and that font is Dustismo Roman. Unplugged is bold though, compared to turn off and thank you. And unplugged is size 70, whereas turn off and thank you are regular, not bolded, and it's size 40 for both of them. Wedding and please are also the same font. So wedding is Nicanely, and that's size 180, and please is size 65. Now with this fancy underline simple, that is exactly what I typed. I typed fancy simple underline, file type PNG. So with this one, it didn't show up checkerboard, which you could technically save things as PNG and not have it have a transparent background. But sometimes I just like to investigate, so I clicked it, I saved it this way through this website, and then when I got to Photoshop, I downloaded it again, just to show you guys that it is absolutely transparent. So we are good to go.
Alright guys, that concludes my video. I hope that it was super informational for you. Again, this is part of a 3-part series on how to do specific signs for your wedding DIY. These will save you money and also add a touch of personalization to your wedding. I hope that this was super informational for you guys, and if it was, I would love a thumbs up. It really means a lot to me, and I would love for you to subscribe if you haven't already. What sign was your favorite? I would love to know. Comment down below if there's any videos you would like to see from me. I always listen to you guys. Bye!